Good morning, everyone. It is now day 18 of our 100-day challenge, and I am so glad that you could join me again today. So let's get on with it, yeah? Let me flash the recap here for part one on this side, but it's better if you pause this video first and watch part one so part two makes more sense. So yesterday, I showed you the ladder, the one with the bottom rungs sawed off, and the 400-year-old hands that built it. Today's the harder half because once you understand the ladder, you have to understand what grew on top of it, the asking, the giving, and the shame that holds it all together. And a lot of you are convinced that the whole thing is just a nice word for a scam. So today, I'm going to take that seriously and not just wave it away. So stay with me. Act 3, the asking and the giving. Let me start with a comment that was sharp and honest and I think half right, so I'm going to put it up on the screen. They feel their poverty entitles them to your money. If you give to avoid being shamed and guilted, you are not being generous, you're being manipulated. You owe no one anything simply because you have more than them. Okay, here's where I think he's right, and I mean truly right. If you hand over the money only to stop the shame, only so the neighbors don't talk, only so you don't feel like a bad person, that is not generosity. He nailed it. That's manipulation. And my entire Day 14 episode exists for exactly that reason, so that your no is just simple math, a number you set in advance instead of a guilty flinch in the moment. On that, he and I are standing on the same spot. But then he pointed that the whole mindset is shameful. And that's where I have to slow him down, not to defend it, but to explain it, because you can't set a clean boundary against something you don't understand. So where does it come from? This feeling that if you have more, you owe. It's not random. It has a name and it's old. For centuries here, the way anything reached the poor was through a patron. You didn't have a government that helped you. You had the landlord, the politician, the godfather, the padrino. And the deal was simple. The one with more was expected to give a loan, a job, help in a funeral, money in an emergency. And in return, you gave him your loyalty, your gratitude, your vote. And hold on to that word, vote, because this is also how the pyramid keeps itself standing. When half of the country is poor, a little cash at election day buys loyalty. So the same families stay on top and the ladder stays broken. The padrino never died, he just moved into the ballot box. So asking for the person who has more, that was never begging here. It was the system. It's how resources actually moved for 400 years. And here's what that means for you, gentlemen. When you walk in, obviously the one with more, you don't get to introduce yourself. You've already been cast without even auditioning. You stepped into a role that's been running since before your country existed. The padrino. And this is not unique to you, by the way. This is the same expectation for a local who made it. When he or she goes home to visit, all the relatives and neighbors come flocking for their gifts and pasalubong. I mentioned this in one of my earlier episodes for the Hard Truth series. And yes, the enforcement is shame, hiya, the fear of being talked about. That part is real, and it's the part that curdles. Because a beautiful thing, neighbors keeping each other alive, can rot into a weapon. Politicians do it every election. Families do it too. So when he says people get guilted into giving, he is not wrong. But listen, the system was originally beautiful. It was survival insurance for the people the ladder locked out. I share when I have, you share when you have, and none of us dies alone in the gap. Colonial poverty and modern scarcity are what twisted it into dependency. It's not a character flaw in my people, it's a good thing that got bent by 400 years of having nothing. So understand it, don't adopt it, and set your boundary anyway. And before anyone feels too clean about this, entitlement isn't only theirs, and this next one's going to sting some of you. Bato-bato sa langit, ang tamaan wag magagalit. You throw a stone in the air, whoever it hits, don't get mad. If the shoe fits, wear it. It's the truth, so forgive me for saying this anyway. The man who thinks $1,500 and a passport entitle him to a young wife and her endless gratitude, that's entitlement too. It just wears nicer shoes. It runs both ways, yeah? Now, the other side of this, the giving side, because someone left me a really smart comment about the health fund. He said, the health fund is missing something. I'll help with a share. Who else is chipping in? Own a percentage of the problem, not the whole problem. A team effort. I love the instinct of this one. Spread the load, everybody chips in. No one carries it alone. In a healthy family, that's exactly right. But here's the problem it runs into. You can't split a bill among people who have nothing. If the parents have no pension and the siblings have no real income, there is no share for them to chip in. The math has no other players. And that's where you meet the other half of my culture, the responsible ones, the eldest son, the eldest daughter, the one who made it to an office job, the one working abroad. They don't chip in a share, gentlemen. They carry the whole thing, every peso, alone. This is so common, it's literally in the research. A Filipino ship engineer, good income, 9 siblings, and he alone supported both parents and paid for both their funerals. The siblings who earned decent money? Nothing. And he did it anyway, partly out of love and partly because everyone in town knew he was the one who made it, so the shame would have been his. I know that, man. My own family were the ultimate nice guys of our whole barangay. I told you, the lechon at 3 in the morning, feeding the people who never once fed us back. So let me give my own people a name with love and with a warning. The responsible Filipino might be the ultimate nice guy in the world. The kindness, the tolerance, the endless patience for the people we love. It is genuinely beautiful, and it is exactly the thing that takers lean their whole weight on. The same open hand that keeps the family alive is the one that gets bled dry. That's not a reason to close it, it's a reason to put a wall around it. That's the whole point of the boundary. If this second half is nudging you to reflect, hit like so it reaches the right person. And if you want a spark of inspiration for the way out of the endless allowance, by turning help into something that ends, that's day 15. Watch it after this. Act 4. So, is it a scam? Which brings us to the word some of you keep using, scam. I keep seeing the comments with the same line. Utang na loob, this debt of gratitude is basically Stockholm syndrome, a trauma bond, fake love, a hostage falling for her captor. Okay, let me take that seriously because it deserves a real answer, so I dug into it. First, the term itself, Stockholm Syndrome, isn't even a real diagnosis. It's not in the manuals doctors actually use to diagnose anything. It has no agreed criteria. It came from one bank robbery in Sweden in 1973, and the woman it's named after later said out loud that it was never affection, it was terror. So before we diagnose 100 million people with a pop psychology label from a 50-year-old bank heist, let's slow down, yes? But here's the both sides part. There's a real thing under his instinct, so let me be fair to him. It has real names. Parentification, filial guilt. When this gets weaponized, when a healthy, able family bleeds a daughter dry for life and calls it love, that is real. A debt with no balance printed on it, and the collector is shame. So let me say this out loud. That version is toxic and it is wrong. So he's not seeing nothing, but here's what he's missing, and it makes a huge difference. Kapwa didn't come from a scam. A people locked out of the ladder, no state that cared, no pension, no safety net for 400 years. When the system hands you nothing, as in nothing, the family has to become the system. The family has to be the pension and the hospital and the unemployment office all at once. That's not a con, gentlemen. That's what love looks like when it's the only insurance you're allowed to have. And now the part for the men who think they've found the loophole. Some of you may be thinking, fine, I'll just rescue her from it. I'll pay for everything and lift her out. No, hear me please. If you do that, you didn't free her. You just made yourself the new source and her the middleman. You added your own name to the exact same ledger. Nothing changed except who's paying. The savior story feels good in your head, but in real life, you didn't break the chain. You became the next link. Before I turn the mirror around, let me show you the most beautiful version of all of this. We have a word, Bayanihan, and the old picture of it is a whole village putting bamboo poles under a neighbor's house. The actual house, the whole thing, lifting it and carrying it down the road to the new spot. Because one family cannot lift its own home alone. Nobody gets paid, nobody sends a bill. The only wage is that when your house needs moving, they will come for you and help. That's Kapwa you can see with your own eyes. And gentlemen, a life is heavier than a house. That's pretty much what this whole thing is. And if you want to feel how deep this runs, not the poverty, not even the obligation, just the love itself, go listen to a song called Mapa by SB19. Graduating students sing it to honor their parents who sacrificed everything for them, and grown men weep to it. Go listen after this. You'll understand your Filipina better than any video of mine ever could. Because here's what I really need you to understand, gentlemen. This isn't just money moving around. To us, this is what a good person is. Growing up, the highest thing anyone could call you was mabait na bata, a good kid. And it had nothing to do with your grades or your money or how clever you were. You earned it one way, by honoring your elders, respecting your mother and father, and helping keep your family afloat. That's it. That's the whole test of a good person, a good soul here. And there's a second one. For anyone a patron lifted up, if a benefactor paid your schooling, a padrino opened a door, you are expected to be marunong tumanaw ng utang na loob, someone who knows how to honor a debt of gratitude, debt of the inner self, who remembers where they came from. And the worst thing you can be, walang utang na loob, someone who got carried up the ladder and then turned their back once they made it. In my culture, that's not a small flaw. That's the mark of a person who is an ingrate, a despicable one. So understand what she's actually doing when she sends that money home. She's not being scammed and she's not being weak. She is being, by everything she was ever taught, good. A mabait na anak, the kind of daughter her whole town would be proud of. That reverence for the mother and the father is the one thing 400 years of the caste never managed to take from us. And it's the thing I'm about to show you the West traded away. So now the mirror. The West is built on the I, the individual standing on his own 2 feet, owing no one. Where I'm from, here, we're built on the we. And the West did escape the caste. It built merit and movement and a pension and independence. Real things, good things. I'm not romanticizing being poor. I've lived it and there's nothing beautiful about it. But every trade has a bill, and here's the one the West paid. Somebody wrote something the other day that stopped me. It was about what it's like being here. That someone always talks to you, someone always calls you, someone always asks, have you eaten? That you're never in a room without someone noticing you're in it. And it feels like nothing, just life, just people, until the day you're somewhere that doesn't do that. And you walk past people and no one looks, you sit down and no one asks, and the quiet isn't peaceful, it's heavy. And it's not just a feeling, they studied it. 46,000 people, 237 countries, and loneliness actually goes up the more individualist a place becomes. The freer the I, the lonelier the person. So that's the trade-off. The West took that suffocating we and swapped it for a free I. It got free and it got lonely. So here's where I will leave you. My culture will bleed a daughter dry in the name of family. I've shown you that. I won't hide it. And the West will let a father die in a clean, quiet home his own children visit twice a year. One of us over owes, the other under owes. Neither one got it right. So, before you call kapwa or utang na loob a scam or fake love, just ask yourself one honest question. Of those two mistakes, which one do you want your old age, your last decade to be? That's a real choice. That's the whole thing. So take the time to reflect on it, yeah? So tomorrow, since this entire conversation from day 12 is leading up to one question, the I versus the we are going to close the chapter on this whole culture story. But before you go, tell me, gentlemen, when was the loneliest you've ever felt in a room full of people? I read all of them. And guys, the comment segment this weekend will be a good one. Thanks for sharing all of your thoughts, your pushbacks, and your encouragement, your kind words. They all make a huge difference. And lastly, I haven't thanked you on video yet, but here it is. Thank you so much for helping the channel reach its first milestone of 1,000 plus subscribers. You all made it possible, and I can't thank you enough. Super grateful to you all. I'm gonna have to walk over there now. It's quite hot already, but it's fine. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye.